Let me make one thing abundantly clear. As parents, there is nothing irrational about asking questions. I fully believe in informed consent, being skeptical of big institutions, and having in-depth conversations with health providers, so we should absolutely demand answers. But if we are to question everything, we are well within our right to question a person in power who appears to be selling nothing but distrust and fear, while not actually providing any tangible answers. In other words, let's talk about why parents can and should question RFK Jr. RFK Jr. is now the US Secretary of Health and Human Services, and look, I know I'm not American, I get this a lot. I don't actually think stopping to care about the issue at the border of a different country is an effective way forward, because this stuff circulates, trickles down, and has global consequences. And while there is no strong action I can take at this point, not being in the US even, what I can do, however, is talk about it, and hope that it sparks an actually meaningful conversation that doesn't revolve around my hair color or my septum piercing. And I have 5 solid reasons for you to at least second guess RFK Jr.'s advice. And no, not all of the 5 reasons are about vaccines. There truly is something for everyone. We will start with vaccines, however, so bear with me. The claim that made RFK Jr. famous, and not for good reasons, is that vaccinations cause autism. Even though the original study behind this myth was a terrible, terrible mistake and oversight by a scientific community, it should never have been published, and it has since been debunked. Problem was that the parents listened to RFK Jr. and the likes, despite all this evidence. Vaccination hesitancy increased, and preventable diseases made a comeback. Very notably, in Samoa, RFK Jr.'s campaign, which he did together with prominent anti-vaccination influencers, contributed to a measles outbreak that killed 83 people. Most of them were young children. At the moment, RFK Jr. heavily denies any involvement with it. However, this whole situation is one of my biggest problems with his claims. He doesn't seem to know what he's talking about, and he doesn't even seem to believe it. There are recorded instances of times and times again of him claiming that vaccines cause all of this. Yet, when questioned directly if he believes it so much, why doesn't he own up to it? The only explanation that I have is that he actually has nothing. His obsession with the long debunked autism vaccines link is so hard that despite all the talks in the US government about minimizing unnecessary spending, and despite the fact that many vital programs and resources are already closing, what does RFK do? He initiates looking at this evidence again, wasting already sparse time and resources on debunking conspiracies. And this, in my opinion, is abuse of power and influence. I repeat, it has been done multiple times already. No one would have actually wanted to miss this vital link. And here's the thing, you could look on a surface level and say like, Big Pharma just doesn't want you to know this because they're benefiting from vaccinations. Well, even if it were true, what would actually have been much cooler for Big Pharma? If that link was found, doing a race for the first vaccine that does not contain components and factors that cause autism. This would then put this company at a complete monopoly and make them so much money. No one would have ever passed this opportunity. Pair it with the current US outbreak that RFK Jr. has been very lukewarm about discussing and promoting vaccination, and we no longer have some abstract rhetoric. There are sick children dying. Reason number 2 to question RFK Jr. also relates to vaccinations. So if you want to hear something new that's not about the jabs at all, skip straight to the next one. There's plenty of stuff to go around for all beliefs and convictions. During the global pandemic, RFK Jr. pushed misinformation that also did not help get America healthier. Instead of helping and promoting evidence-based advice, RFK Jr. just added fuel to the fire by spreading unfounded claims about vaccines, masks, and most notably about the virus itself. He went as far as claiming COVID vaccines were bioweapons to target certain ethnic groups. Not to mention comparing vaccinations to Holocaust, spreading false claims, and undermining public health efforts. I promised no more vaccines. Reason number 3 is RFK Jr.'s obsession with weird myths around food and nutrition that don't make any sense, yet make it much harder for parents to feed their kids. His range of claims around food additives goes from ADHD straight to cancer. And as always, there is like a grain of truth in here, because yes, of course, it's very important to be mindful of what your family is putting on the table. But RFK Jr. has this amazing talent of warping legitimate health concerns into full-blown conspiracies that don't make any sense, confuse parents, and make them terrified of completely normal, safe foods.
This is a list of ingredients from foods: carrageenan, riboflavin, monosodium glutamate, and 20 others that I can't pronounce.
Like, give me a break. The guy does not know that riboflavin is vitamin B2. He does not realize that a fast food chain, yes, a fast food chain he is actively promoting, is actually not even doing what he claims. They're not using friggin' beef tallow to cook all their things. In fact, much of them are pre-cooked in seed oils he so despises. So instead of focusing on very simple, everyday factors that actually make the most impact, such as prioritizing whole foods, moving more, etc., all the boring stuff, parents are stressed out of their minds with all this rhetoric, especially now that it's being made official. And if you have a neurodivergent child, I don't have good news for you either when it comes to RFK Jr.'s efforts. Parenting a child with special needs is challenging enough without added misinformation. There are already shortages of resources, shortages of support, so we don't need a shortage of common sense here as well. RFK Jr. has actively, numerous times, spread misinformation about ADHD and autism treatments, pushing the idea that kids are overdiagnosed and that all their troubles are simply caused by bad parenting and toxins in their food. And here is the balanced reality. Yes, it's very important to prescribe and administer mental health treatments carefully. Avoid handing out pills like candy and make sure that treatments are individualized. But this is not going to be helped by instilling blanket fear in health professionals. Demonizing such treatments hurts kids who actually need them to function. And I'll be the first one to admit, doctors are not always right. Sometimes they give out ridiculous advice. So yes, doctors make mistakes, but so does every profession. Like, if someone cuts your hair badly, you don't throw a fit and say like, oh, I'm never going to a hairdresser's again. You'll probably find a better one next time. And yes, the stakes with medical care are much higher, but this is not an invitation to distrust all and every doctor permanently. And after all, if we go down this slippery slope, if we distrust the doctors, why would we trust this guy who doesn't have any relevant backgrounds or expertise? This doesn't make any sense. And paired with RFK's Jr. high position of power, let me be blunt. He's not just some fringe activist anymore, whose opinion you may take or leave. He's making decisions that will affect your kids, their kids, future generations to come. The damage that has a potential to be done is going to take a while to unravel. He somehow manages to both plant mistrust in science and appropriate science for his own agenda. He creates a culture where science is treated as optional rather than essential, and as a tool to push his own ideas, rather than an objective instrument that helps us understand the world around us better. Parenting is already hard enough without bad information making it worse. We don't need conspiracy theories. We don't need fear-mongering. We need facts, real science, real evidence, and policies that actually have a proven record of protecting our families. And look, I'm all up for a healthy debate, as this is how we learn something new. So far, the biggest and very valid, I must say, criticism of me questioning RFK Jr. has been me mispronouncing a certain word when describing his actions. And I sincerely apologize. It is my responsibility to set the records straight so we can flip the page and start a meaningful discussion.
Moronic.
Moronic?
Moronic.
Moronic! Moronic! Yay!